Hello and welcome to something I am very excited about. What I have in front of me right now is AFL Supercoach for this year. I have been a super big AFL fan for my whole life, and these past few years I've gotten really involved with my Supercoach, and I've been working on this in the background for quite a while. It's taken me to round 8 to get this all up and running, but I finally have got it set up and I want to start making some Supercoach related videos. So this is going to be my little mini series I've got going on my channel. I just want to be a little bit more diverse when it comes to all these different types of content I've got going on, because I've already got my footy stars related content. I do have my Pokemon card stuff that I've got going on. I just want to keep adding to the pile of things that I have, so I've got more quantity of content coming out so I can get as big of an audience as I can. People of all different kinds of different interests I can collect into this one small community. So the past few years I have been taking my Supercoach more serious, and I've been around the top 10k for the past 2 years. This year up to round 8, and we did go down quite a few, but we're down to 13,000, which is still okay. I want to be around the 5k mark, but 13,000 is definitely, you can build upon that. Our week score 2,326 is quite low than lots of others. There was one dude that I battled in my league and he popped out a massive score, and this score is because I didn't have the one and only Mr. Max gone. He killed it, and a 198 really hurts when you've got a TDK in that position. So this is my team currently, how it looks. Very similar to a lot of others, but I feel like it's got some good bones. Getting prepped for the buy rounds, because that's where it's really make or break season. So I have made a trade already, which I will show the reverse of, but we have Rankin out for Davidson. So I moved on Davidson at the end of this week. He popped out at 46 after I thought he would. He might have gotten a lot of touches on the wing down at Mars. Mars is a bit of a crap hole, so I thought if it's down his wing, he might accumulate lots of points, but it just wasn't down there, and I should have known, hindsight. Mars Stadium disposal efficiency is not going to be great with kicking because of the wind, how ridiculous that tunnel is, but I've moved on Davidson. He's made enough money for me to move up to Rankin, who is a 48 break even, so jump on while you can if you are. He is versing Port this week in the showdown, so he could go massive again 2 weeks in a row. That is what our team looked like. I just do the reverse so I can go through who I had where after I make that trade. So this is what our team looked like this week, or last week, round 8. I'll go through it all. The rookie bench, I did the rookie roulette, and in almost every single aspect I failed. I decided to play Davidson, who got that 49 in front of Hewitt. It's a 50-point difference there. Hewitt with the 91. For some stupid reason, I popped Levi Ashcroft on the bench. I thought against the Suns he might struggle a bit, but of course it's an Ashcroft. He didn't. 56 from Lindsay and an 82 from Hustwaite. Hustwaite's been impressive, but a 99 is still bigger. And then the top score, Reed playing on the Thursday night. I thought that hopefully Carroll got dropped potentially and I could use him as a loop, but it wasn't the case. I just had to sit with Reed on the bench, which is very disappointing, but I'll take you through the whole entire list that I have at the moment. So Shizu 120, that's great. Love that from Shees. I know he only got like one contested possession, but when he was popping out 120s with 30 touches, there's not much you can complain about, regardless of if he's getting contested posies or not. Wangani Malira 97. It's just a run-of-the-mill average score right there. Nothing to write home about, but you take that with Wangani Malira. Roberts 82. He's gone down again. He had a couple weeks where he popped off and got a 117 and 119 before for the 79 77, which are testy periods of we thought we are going to have to move him on, but once he popped out those two, you got a little bit more confidence. Now the 82, it's back to that same zone we were at before. Do we move him on now or not? Do we jump ship at his buy? Short is a real problem now. I've held short from the start of the year, and it's been probably one of my worst picks of the whole year. 68 this week is just dreadful. My thinking at the start of the year was I thought Short would get so much kick-ins because Richmond suck. Let's be real. Richmond are going to have big scores against, and I thought that he would take the monopoly on all the kick-ins, but it's just not enough. He doesn't get enough of the ball outside of the kick-ins that he takes, and it's a lot to share the ball around in that Richmond backline. So it might be an option to move on this week if you do have short and it suits your team structure. He could definitely be moved on. I know his break-even's quite high as well, so he's going to be losing money still. Then we roll into Bias with the 49. It's his first crap score. Really crap score, 49. He was almost at like play at D6 position for middle of the year area, but he popped out the 49 in a game that Sydney. Who did Sydney play? Give me one moment. Sydney versus the Giants. So it's not like a super big game where you would say he's not going to score anything. So a 49 is a bit disappointing. And then a trainer 82 is great. I've held him from that 2 price cycle. He got 2 as a sub score, was put in the last 5 minutes and absolutely just ruined his cash generation for a week. But I held on to him strong. I know there's a lot of people that moved on. And there's still some money to be made there. He has 2 in the price cycle. Is going to drop out, I think, next week. So if you held on to trainer, I think that's the right move. He'll be making some money, but he's just got to stay there for a little bit longer. So we won't be moving on trainer. His break-even's getting low again. And then Reed, there's no reason to move on either. When he's popping out 102s and being one of the top scorers of the game for Essendon, no point moving him on. He's almost playable on field in the D6 position. Depends if you've got loops, if you can use that. I clearly can't because Carroll here. And Carroll's a slow burner. Nothing special. 37. I knew this when I moved him in. There's no options this year at this start of the season. Not start of the season, but this point in the season. There's just no rookies to move down to. Nothing enticing. We're really scraping the bottom of the barrel to make some money. So we're going to have to get a little bit of inventive stuff going on the next couple of weeks to try and make some money. That's what one of the moves for Flynn down here. I know a lot of other people did it as well, but you're just going to make it where you can. Then we go to midfielders. Dacos with an 89. I jumped on a couple of weeks ago before his really big score. I think that was against Essendon, Anzac Day. I'm not sure, but popped the vice on it that round. It was massive, but an 89. I think he got tagged towards the later end of the game. I think it was Mullen that tagged him, which did a good job to nullify Dacos. But 89, it's a mulligan. I think you just roll with the punches with Dacos. 89, still not disaster zone. And then we've got the superhero for my team for the week. Zach Merritt, 172, was an absolute hero in the last quarter to get Essendon home. I could have put the vice on him, but I popped it on Jerry instead because I thought Jerry against Old Man Goldstein was going to absolutely show him, but he still did. 146 is still my second biggest score of the round, so you take that, but could have been Zach Merritt. I was tossing it up between the two because Zach Merritt can run right against the really poor teams. Doesn't matter. We still got him, and I'm glad that we have him. I know there's going to be a lot of people that try and jump on him now. I've held strong this whole season with Merritt, so happy with that. Sarong has also been a failed pick. He's just been outplayed by Brayshaw in every facet so far. 80, Freo were horrible, so 80's okay for a team that got thrashed that badly. Feel inclined to just hold at this point. There's no point moving on. I don't know what his break even is. Let's have a quick look actually. 137, so he's still going to be leaking lots of cash, but I think there's got to be one game where they say, all right, we're going to tag Brayshaw. Caleb Sarong's going to run right and he's going to put out on 135. Something like that's going to happen sooner or later. Prime time. Collingwood, not expecting anything super big again, but I'm just going to have to roll with him. That's just what you got to do sometimes with these players. Rosie, I brought him in a couple weeks ago, had him at the start of the year, and then he popped out a couple stinkers and was losing cash quickly. The week after I traded him out, he got that move to half back and popped out a couple big scores. He is going to get that DPP status, so I thought, I love Rosie. He's one of my favorite players. I'm going to bring him back in, and he gives me a 78, which is kind of like a kick of dirt in the face, but it was a 30-touch game. 78, it was not a great 30-touch game. His disposal efficiency was awful. Just getting a lot of 1-2s, which got the disposal count up. Just quite boring it was. Uninspired performance. 78 is okay. Hopefully he bounces back against the Crows this week. Then we got Callahan, 133. I've held him all this time. I know how much I rate him. I've held him from the start. Lots of people jumped ship after this 55, 72, 82 area. He did lose some cash, but I held faith. I know he got tagged those couple weeks, so you're going to get tags every now and then. 133 is big. He's just too skilled to not get big scores. So I thought the price he was, it's worth the gamble. And so far, he's slowly climbing and paying it back to me for holding him. Will Ashcroft, 130, coming off the 100 last week. And the week before, he popped out to 50, which was ridiculous. But 130 is big. There's going to be points where the Brisbane team, Lockie Neal, Dunkley, McCluggage is going to take the tags sort of thing because they've just got a bolsterous midfield. So there's going to be those games where Will Ashcroft can run riot basically, and he is a bit of a pod. I think he's still owned by about 10% of the competition. 20%. That's actually more than I thought. So he's not as big of a pod option as I thought. He's been serviceable. It's a kind of a roller coaster, but he's been serviceable. And then we go to Lindsay, which I thought was going to have a big game, breakout game against the Eagles, but just didn't do much, to be honest. It was just there. 56 in hindsight. I should have just played Ashcroft, who is a gun, over Lindsay. I thought that the matchups meant something, but sometimes in Supercoach don't look into matchups too heavily. Sometimes they can really screw you over. And then Huswaite, I held faith. This was a matchup-oriented one against Richmond. I thought that with Will Day out, and I think someone else got injured. I think it was Cam Mackenzie or something that got injured before the game, which Huswaite was going to get some of that midfield time. And he looked great out there. So I watched some of this game, even though it was quite boring. Not many good games this round, I will say that, except for the Collingwood-Geelong game. That was crazy. But he looked composed out there. He looks like a full AFL player. So I had confidence seeing him the week earlier to play him on field. And an 82 is pretty decent by his standards. 120 price tag, playing Huswaite on field, having the confidence to do that. It's a good thing. So we had Levi Ashcroft on the bench, which is absolutely stupid by me. I was going to lose one of my leagues and league games, and I wanted to spice it up a little bit. I was hoping and praying that Levi maybe had a stinker and popped out a 40. At the end of the day, we all wanted to do well because I still want that cash generation. But 99 on the bench is disappointing. Kako, I had him as the loop because he played on that Thursday night. He's putting that consistent 50 to 60 range stuff, which is going to make money very, very slowly. There's no reason to particularly move him on now. And then Clay Hole, I think he had a really good game in the WAFL, the Waffle. He might have a chance of coming back in the side, but I'm not super bothered if he doesn't come back because I can still use him as a loop because he plays later than your Kako, just in case Kako is a big one. I doubt it, but just in case, we've got the option. And then Jerry, 146. I knew he was going to pop off against Goldie. Goldie's just too old and too slow. He shouldn't be playing at AFL level, but Essendon don't have much choice anymore, so I know that if you've got a ruck against Goldstein, they're probably going to go big that week. I thought Vice was an obvious choice, and I think that the comp also decided Jerry was a good choice. So popped the Vice on Jerry, and this is where we really miss out on Max Gawn's massive 198. So De Koning 80, lowest of the year so far. He's been okay. I have no problems with De Koning this year, but it hurts when Gawn has had this form recently. He had that start of the year where it was not great. He had some off-field incidents going on, and I felt like the De Koning pick was a great thing. Now I'm getting to that stage where it really hurts to not own Gawn because he is carrying Melbourne on their shoulders. De Koning popping out a 80 against Riley O'Brien over in Adelaide. Carlton getting thrashed. It doesn't look great. Getting an 80 score out of that is still okay. Yeah, having Gawn does hurt a bit. I'm going to hold strong on De Koning for the time being, but it could come back to bite me. Then we go to the forwards. So we got Horn Francis 92 is a decent score for how badly Port got beaten. He was in and around, but I know a lot of people that jumped off Horn Francis when they got to this stage, the rage trade area, and then he popped out a 153 and just gave an FU to everyone that traded him out. I held him through that stage because Horn Francis is a gun. I've got his jersey at the back right there. He does get those spells where Hinkley likes to rest him up forward, like full forward, and does hurt his score when Port gets thrashed as badly as they do. But a 92, I feel like it's okay from the what happened on the weekends. And then we got Rankin, which had a massive one game, 138, and I feel like he can continue that form and go big against Port. He always loves playing Port, as does Port playing the Crows. His break even's down to like the 50 range, I think. So if you don't have Rankin at this stage and you want to jump on, I feel like this week is a good week, depending on what your structure looks like. Then we got Bailey Smith, 111. That is basically what Bailey Smith has been averaging this year. He's been very consistent except for the 80 and 80, which is still not horrible. That's about his floor. So 111, average of 110. That's great. You take Bailey. I know there's people that didn't start with Bailey, but he's going to be a keeper for the whole year, I think. Same as McRae, who absolutely had a blinder, 160. He gave a big FU to Kane Corns. He did have a crap week before that with the 77. It's sort of roller coaster, but Jack McRae is capable of those massive scores. I remember like 3 years back when he was in the Doggies midfield, absolutely getting 150 after 150 after 150. You know what he's capable of. He's older now, but he's in that midfield and he owns a lot of that midfield. So McRae could also be a keeper for the whole year. Then we go to Caleb Daniel, who 89 is fine, but he could be someone you move on. I watched a little bit of this game and it was a lot of run through, kick down the lines, nothing super dangerous. He could be an option to move on if you need the cash, because I don't feel like he's going to be a keeper for the whole year. And then one of my best picks of recent times is this Marich 131. Biggest score so far for him, I believe. Yep, that 131, biggest score so far. There was that week period where people were deciding between Marich or Humphrey, and they made the argument for both. People decided on both, and I know Humphrey had a big game, I think the week before last week, but I think Marich was the right pick. Looking at all the data, he's taken all the kick-ins for West Coast. There's not much other options in that back line except for maybe McGovern, who is very injury-prone. Marich is going to be the monopoly kick-in taker at West Coast, so I thought I'll take a ping on Marich and see if I can make some money. And so far, he's done that for me. As with Hewitt, I held when he was having that period where he didn't get a couple games. He got that 22. I think he got dropped. Not sure if he was injured or dropped. Don't believe. But it was just no point to move him on. He had some money to make. Came back. He had a big score, smaller score, and now a big one again. I could have played him over Davidson this week, but he's still risky. 91 in 2 out of 3 weeks, and 90 plus, I think it is. You could be an option to play him on field if you are really struggling for forwards, but not imperative. And then Cleary, 63, he's making us some cash. He's just going to be a slow burner down there as well. Nothing really. No notes on Cleary. Didn't really watch the Suns game. I mean, the Sydney game. It was in that Sunday Arvo time slot, so I was busy doing stuff then. And then we have Max Flynn, who got tooled by Max Gorn. 53 is not great. There's all the chance in the world this week that he gets dropped, which will make my trade plans a little bit more difficult. It's his one blip score of 53. You got the 141, the 105, and the 53. If we look at his break even, it is a 68. So looking by the past data, this week he is versing Richmond, the big Nank. I'm not sure how good you can score against Nank. Don't know the data. For an FYI, I don't have Supercoach Plus, so I can't look at past scores and how people score against stuff. So I apologize in that regard that we don't get any of this data. If people really want it, I might invest. So make these videos a little bit easier for me and a bit more informative for you guys. But that's if this little series hits off and starts getting some traction. I'm not going to go out and buy stuff yet. But Flynn 53, there's all the chance in the world that he does get dropped. So that's a watch. Hopefully he doesn't get dropped and he still makes a little bit more cash, but we can work with it. With that Davidson to rank and trade, we'll move to trades now because we've gone through every player. I'll do a mini trade session right now, but I'll probably make a later video in the week. My Supercoach final trades and team lists, it'll probably be around Thursday afternoon or Thursday 5 o'clock evening area when the team lists come out. But that's when I go through my final trades. The two moves I could make this week are Flynn, depending on if he gets dropped. And I don't want Short in this team anymore. He's just been a train wreck, and I want to move it because his break-even's like in the 100 pluses still. So he's going to be leaking cash. Bice is also an option to move if you need the cash. I feel like he still could make a little bit more money, but you can move him. He's got a pretty decent price range right now. He could get to the 400k mark, but that's pushing it. So you could easily move him on. I think his break-even's up to the 70 range. So if you really need the cash, you can move him on. There's no problem with that. Everyone else I'm happy with, to be honest. I think Lindsay's still chugging along. Ashcott's making money. Reed's making money. Trainer's going to be making money. Carroll, slow burner. Kako, slow burner. Cleary, slow burner. Hewitt's making money. Hustwaite's still got his first price rise to come, so that is something to look forward to as well. And the options this week are just dire. There's nothing to move in this week. If we just have a look at, let's just say we wanted to move on Short this week. Money per point, we got Sandy Brock, who hasn't played in a while. Oscar McDonald, who only played for Luke Jackson when he was gone, and I don't see him coming back in anytime soon. Joe Fonte, I'm not sure about many of this dude at all, and it looks like other people don't either, with a 0.1%. It's kind of not a good thing to move someone into your team with only one game played. That's a very small sample size, so I wouldn't be jumping on there. And then everything down here is just not worth jumping on. Bo Allen, 36. He got suspended for a game, so it's not something to do. Carroll, I've already got. Dyer, 34% of the comp also have him. And then we got Francis. He's not really an option, I don't think. He's been popping consistent 70s, and he's had a 40k price rise, but he already had that high starting price, so there's not a whole lot of money to be made. Bustlinger came on as the sub and got 4, so you write that off for a couple of weeks. So there's basically not a whole lot of options down back for money-wise, so it will struggle to move Short on for anyone that is going to be projected to make money. Average-wise, I don't have a lot of cash, so I really want to target Sinclair. His break-even's up to 130 still, because he's had a bit of a lull period, so the problem with him is, as much as Short is going to lose cash, Sinclair's going to lose the same amount. It's going to be even if I move on this week and I still don't have enough. So it'd have to be a 2-mover. I'd have to do a boost to make that move. And there's nothing in the midfield either. Like, I don't want to move anyone from my midfield particularly. Just say Lindsay. Lorenz had a decent game, but I wouldn't jump on just yet. I don't know if Port keep him in. He could be. Boxall, I also would wait another week. Lots of people have jumped on him already, but I would still wait another week as well. And then we got Hustwaite, which is going to go up in price. Everyone has him. You should have him by now. If you don't have him last week, you have him now. And then that's about it. That's the options in the midfield. So Boxall is the one to watch, I'd say. And Will Lorenz, he surprised me with his score, an 83 in a game he got thrashed. He played like a wing role from what I saw, so he can be one to watch as well. But I think Boxall is he's cheaper. He might rise versus Carlton. I'm not sure how Lorenz is going to go against Adelaide if he stays in the team. But there's nothing really big to move on to from there. And then forward line, Cleary, let's just say that we have absolutely nothing. We got Finbar Maley, who, poor guy, had to kick the goal at the late stage of the game, and it was a bad situation to be in, but he got rushed and it was not great. It looked like a deer in the headlights, as everyone has said this for him. 46 is not lighting the world on fire. 1% desperate coaches have jumped on him, and there's just nothing else here. So it's really dire. Lots of cash generations dire. I think lots of people are gearing up for the buy rounds, which is, I think, starts at round 12. So I think we just sit in the one trade for now, the Davidson to Rankin, before Davidson loses too much money, and just wait and see this week. Depending on the team list, if Flynn gets dropped, I'm going to have to make a move short. I would prefer to make a move, but I hope that DPP comes soon so I can trade short, move in Rosie, and then bring in a mid. Lockie Neal is one that I've wanted for a while. Let's have a look at, let's just say Ashcroft. Let's have a look at the mids that we can target. Butters, 109. He's at that massive 700,000. Butters would be great to jump on, but he's too expensive now. He's going to come down eventually. So I think hopefully around the buy time is when he is at his sweet spot of price. Bont, yeah, same story with that, the Bont as well. Brayshaw, he will go down a bit, but he might get a few tags soon because of how good he's been playing compared to Sarong. And then you've got your others down here. There's not a whole lot of option. You got Neil. Dawson's quite enticing as well. Neil, we'll go by the 3-round average. So these are the people that are playing well recently. Butters and Bont, of course. Hewitt, not really an option, I would say, at this stage. You're not looking to move him in. If you have him, he's been a good pod for you. Lucky Neil, I think he is going to be up around that stage the whole year, so he's a good pick. Then you've got Brayshaw. Wouldn't bring him in at that price. Newcomb could be a decent pod. Petrarca, I don't believe in Petrarca for some reason. I've just got a gut feeling. Dawson could be an option versus the Port this week, but I want to target Lucky Neal in this area. Lucky Neal, and then I might move on to some premios at the buy period, depending on the cash generation. It might be a case where we have to just jump on some money makers sort of thing, some value picks, which is not going to be your big Bonts and Butters, but that might be just how we manage to fill our team with spots at this stage of the year. So putting our team for what it looks like this week, I can't do any loopholes here. So I'm going to move Reed on field because he's been killing it recently with Trainer the sub. Ashcroft goes on field probably for, I'd say for Lindsay. Versus Hawthorn, Huswaite could go big still. Lindsay, emergency. And then down here, I think I just keep it that it is. You wouldn't change Marriage for Hewitt. No, you wouldn't do that. And then captains for this week. Oof. So we got Collingwood vs Freo Thursday night. I think an obvious one could be Dacos. Lots of people are going to do that. So wrong, don't have lots of confidence in. Carlton Saints. Wouldn't jump on anyone. Maybe Hewitt if you had him. Could put a vice on. Melbourne versus Hawthorn. Nothing there, I'd say. Gorn could be a pick, but he's against Meek, who's quite hard to score against. Sydney versus Essendon. Merritt could have a big game in the midfield. Could put Essendon on their back again. Gold Coast Bulldogs. Bont, obvious pick if you have him. Gold Coast, I don't have a lot of faith in anyone scoring big. Like Rao had an absolute stinker. Anderson's been averaging decently, but captain score, risky. Port versus Crows. Now, you could be a real pod pick and pick Rankin for captain. I think that could be an option. Horn Francis or Rosie don't have a lot of faith in, but Rankin loves playing Port. It could be a good pod captain option. Then you got Richmond versus West Coast. Flynn's versus Nank. Now, I don't think Nank is easy to score against, so I wouldn't be doing that. It's just too risky. And then Short, no, that's not a good captain. Geelong, GWS, Callahan in the Geelong midfield could be tagged by Mullen again. That is also always a possibility, but it could go to Green. And then North versus Brisbane. This is where I think I'm going to take my captain to the last game of the round, Jerry. He's been having a great little patch, 3-round average of 150. So I think he can continue that form against who would be Big O. If Big O's playing, Darcy Fort, I don't know who's playing. But I think that Dacos into Jerry is a good option. I'll go more into depth on it in the later stage video on Thursday, but that was what I'll roll with for now. So that's what our team looks like. Leaves us with 61k to play with. You would rather a little bit more, but doesn't. Fielding with team for this week. My worries this week is Houseweight. If he has a crap game, Reed can pop out of 50. Bice if he has another lull game, and Short can always stink it up a little. He is versing West Coast, so it could be a rise game hopefully for him. But that's what I'll be rolling with this week. So this is my first episode ever of Supercoach. Any feedback is appreciated. I've taken great inspiration from Supercoach with DR. This format has followed his reviews. He's very informative. His stockies are great, and he helps a lot with some of my decision makings. He doesn't get it right always, but none of us get it right always. He's usually pretty on the money. So shout out to Supercoach with DR. I will be doing a later release video in the week about Thursday evening. That will be my team list and trade update video. And depending on if this hits off, I will invest in Supercoach Plus. I just haven't because I don't feel like I need to at this stage. It was a personal thing for a long time. But if I'm broadcasting this to other Supercoach players, maybe it is an option. Goal top 10k this week. Who knows? We'll see. We'll wait and see, but give me any criticism of what I can fix in this, what I can add, what things you want to see. If you want to see any specific players, I can go into depth of what I believe, my personal opinion on if it's a good pick or not. But that takes us to the end of this video. Thank you for watching this one. And as always, go to power.